Hey everybody, it's Jason from the Texas Gun Vault, and once again I'm coming to you with another range report. And really this is a revisit of a range report because my initial range report on this firearm was unsuccessful due to the ammunition, but I'll talk about that in a moment. This is the Rock Island Armory or Armscor 1911 TCM. So essentially what this is a CCO version of a 1911, which means it's an officer-size frame with a commander link slide, chambered in TCM9R, which is a pretty uncommon caliber, but it is a sub-variant of the 22 TCM. And both of these are calibers that were invented by Armscor themselves. And essentially what they are is a 9mm case neck down to accept a 22 caliber projectile. So when you fire this thing, it's designed to be low recoiling, but this 22 caliber projectile is screaming down range. You could get a big fireball and a really loud concussion. Some people are going to absolutely love that. My initial issues with this gun a long time ago when I reviewed it was the ammunition was manufactured incorrectly and the primers were being blown out, so it wasn't safe to shoot. Now, when I returned this pistol to its owner, Jack, and I want to thank him for lending this to the channel for review again. He called Armscor, told them the problem. They took in all of his ammunition, said, yep, it is manufactured incorrectly, and replaced it all. So Jack got that ammunition, sent me back the gun, some of that ammo to shoot, and said, okay, now review it. It should work correctly. So that's what we're going to be here to do today. So as always, I want to thank the people that make these range reports possible, and that of course is Jack, who lent this gun to the channel, my Patreons, who through their monthly support really help keep the lights on around here. As you guys know, YouTube is always demonetizing us firearms channels, so I appreciate all of their support over there. And my primary sponsor for every one of my range reports, Brownworks. If you've been watching my channel for any length of time, you guys have heard me rant and rave about Brownworks, but maybe you're watching my channel for the first time because you are interested in one of these TCM9Rs, or maybe already own an Armscor or Rock Island Armory 1911. And if that's the case, you really need to go check out Brownworks. Brownworks is a company that makes fine custom wood grips for a very wide variety of firearms, including firearms that are hard to find custom grips for, like many of the Armscor 1911s, especially the 2011 variants. People tell me all the time they just can't find grips for those. Well, guess what? Mark over there, who is a master craftsman, makes them. And not only does he just make basic grips for these guns, he can make them out of many different types of exotic woods, finish them in a number of different ways with different colors. He can even include custom logos and etchings, everything to make these guns one of a kind, something that is customized just to you, and they are very special and unique. So please go over and check out Brownworks, see everything he has to offer. And he makes grips for more than just 1911s. He makes grips for CZs and Berettas and many other manufacturers. As I said, go over there, check out, see what he has to offer, and I guarantee you, if you don't see something on his website that you're interested in, send him an email, call him up, tell him, hey, I saw this advertisement on the Texas Gun Vault. What can you do for me? And I guarantee he can make something special for you. One of a kind, one-off grips that are unique, and no one else will have something just like them. So I'm going to put a link in the description and pin a comment to his website and an affiliate link, and as well a discount code for 10% off your first order. So please, once again, go over there, check out Brownworks, thank him for supporting the Texas Gun Vault, and tell him the Texas Gun Vault sent you. Alright, so I've already explained a little bit about what this gun is about and what makes it so unique. Otherwise, just looking at it from the outside, everybody would say, well, that's just another Rock Island Armory or Armscor 1911. There's nothing special about it. Well, the caliber is what makes it really special. So let's quickly go through the things I like and don't like, and many of these are going to be the same thing that I mentioned in the previous video. Well, first off, it's a 1911. How can you not like a 1911? I have to say that I think Armscor or Rock Island Armory have really upped their game when it comes to the fit and finish of these guns. I remember looking at these years ago when they first hit the market, because these are made in the Philippines. The parkerizing wasn't that good. I was like, well, I know they work, but for 1911, you want to be finished a little bit nicer. Well, they really finished these modern ones a lot better. So I have to say the fit, finish, and quality of the look of these guns is fantastic. I like the fact that this gun has many upgrades that you would expect on upper end 1911s, like an extended beaver tail. You have a nice trigger here, a combat style hammer, and I do have to tell you, the trigger on this right out of the box is pretty darn nice. There's no grit, there's no creep. It's one of the nicest 1911 triggers in a budget gun I've ever seen. Lastly, this gun can also be chambered in 9mm. I've already told you the TCM9R essentially uses a 9mm case. Well, you can change out the barrel and the recoil spring, and you can chamber this in 9mm. So if you own this gun, you can go back and forth between those two calibers. And they use the exact same magazine, and the extended magazines also work. As I mentioned, this is an officer size frame, so usually it uses these shortened magazines, but let's say you have a bunch of 9mm extended mags or ones for the government or commander size frames. Well, they're going to work just fine as well. You can get that extra round in there. Some people are going to like that. I don't know if I'd carry it this way, but you do get that option at the range. So now let's talk about the couple of things about this that I don't like. And that list is actually really small. The first one is ammunition availability. Now, I'm going to talk about how cool this cartridge is. The downside is you can't go to your local gun store and buy any. As far as I know, there's only one company that manufactures it, and that's Armscor, and you have to buy directly from them. You know, there's a lot of really cool new calibers out there. I think another one is 30 Super Carry. The problem with all of these new calibers is we've been experimenting with calibers for so long that we've pretty much standardized around a few. And even if you have a new caliber that can do things that no other caliber can, it's really hard to get it to catch on, because everyone's like, well, I already got so much 9mm. I got so many pistols already chambered in 40 or 45. Why do I gotta move to this? And then you have limited ammo availability, and that usually means the price is a little bit higher. To me, that's probably the biggest downside to this. If it caught on and more manufacturers made it, well, it might be a more viable cartridge, but just having that limited availability of ammo, especially if we ever have another huge ammo crunch, and you guys know those happen from time to time, well, that makes feeding this gun a real pain in the butt. The other thing I don't like about this is there are some warning labels on this, and Jack even told me, when you take this thing to the range, you got to really over-oil it. It needs to be oiled and lubricated a whole bunch. I don't really understand why. When I rack the slide, the recoil spring in here is not very stout. It really seems to be mated up between the frame and the slide really well. I mean, the action is really smooth, but they say if they're not properly oiled, they might not run reliably. So you really gotta make sure this thing is coated in oil for it to run right. But that's what I heard, and before I took it to the range, I made sure to do that. So if you're somebody that just likes to pull the gun out of the safe and just go shooting, you don't like to clean your guns very often, you might have problems with that. But those are my only two complaints. So let's go ahead and get this thing to the range, and hopefully this time I'm not going to blow the primers out of the back of these casings. So I'm going to load up two magazines, the standard mag and the extended mag, and we're just going to shoot this thing. So I'm curious to see about the flames this thing shoots, how loud it is, and how accurate it is. Hopefully this ammo is going to work. So let's see if it runs. All right, that is a huge flame and it's really loud. I know that not all of that sound comes across on the camera microphone, but let me tell you, this thing is loud, and the camera always doesn't catch the big fireball that comes out of this thing either, but trust me, with every shot, it's there. It's kind of cool and kind of fun, but it can be really loud. I gotta say, this gun has absolutely no recoil. It does what it's supposed to do as advertised. It's quite amazing. The people at the range will look at this and go, geez, that thing must recoil like crazy with that concussion. And you're like, no, it really shoots like a 22. It's really interesting because what you hear is not what you feel. It has a weird disconnect like that. It's a really cool cartridge. Now, let's talk about the trigger. The trigger in this thing is outstanding. I can't believe this is the factory Armscor trigger. It's great, very nice. And most importantly, the gun seems to run well. Unlike the last time I reviewed it, it's running great. No problems whatsoever so far. So right now we're off to a great start. So let's go to the next portion of this range report that I call the accuracy portion. Essentially, I double the distance of the target. I want to see how big my group is going to open up. I notice I'm shooting a little bit low and a little bit to the left with this thing. So I'm going to see if I can compensate for that. I'm curious how big the group's going to open up. A lot of times when it comes to these really fast 22 caliber projectiles, I'm not as accurate as I'd like to be, but who knows, maybe this thing will be different. So let's see how I do with a target set at 12 yards, 2 more magazines. Let's just have some more fun. All right, so that was not my best grouping. I'm still shooting this thing low and to the left. And I think some of that might have to do with the fact it is an officer size frame. When I recently reviewed another CCO size 1911, I talked about how I have larger hands, and to get all of my fingers on this grip, it's kind of awkward for me. Even with this little extended base plate on the magazine, it kind of forces my grip to be a little bit weird. So that might be causing me to shoot a little bit to the left, but it's more me than it is the firearm. So if you have smaller hands or medium-sized hands, I don't think you would have a problem. The group is still pretty good at that distance for me, so far I'm happy. This gun does have a front fiber optic sight. Let me see if I can get that in the focus there, and there we go. It has a nice adjustable sight in the back with 2 dots. It's a nice little setup. All right, so now I'm going to let my wife get a chance to shoot this thing. She loves 1911s, but I'll tell you, she actually is a little scared to shoot this because she hears the concussion, she sees the flames and goes, I'm not going to like that. I'm like, no. Trust me, it's light recoiling. So I'm excited to see what she thinks. And she's also really excited to shoot at this next target. Everyone knows my wife loves bacon. It's kind of a big thing around here. So we actually found some targets with some wild boars on them. She just likes to shoot them because one day she wants to go out and hunt boar. Well, she just loves bacon. So she's excited to shoot this gun, and she's excited to shoot at what I refer to at the bacon target. So this should be interesting. So let's see what my wife Becky has to say about this interesting 1911. All right, so she told me she wasn't happy with that group, but from my perspective, it looks like every round was on target. I think she was going for the bullseyes where those vital organs are, but for me, I'll take that as a win. Everything was on the bore, so good on her. Now, she did bring up a really interesting point about this. She said she didn't like the concussion and the flash, but not because it scared her when shooting, but she says, you know, if you're going to carry this or use this for home defense, that might distract you more than the person you're shooting at who's invading your house. I'm like, that's actually a really good point, because if you're going to be in a self-defense scenario, your house might be a little bit dark, and that flash could blind you. You could have a hard time reacquiring the target. And that's what she said she had a problem with at the range. So interesting perspective on that. She also thought these grips were a little bit aggressive. These are those G10 grips. And I know if I own this, once again, I'd be calling Brownworks and saying, hey, I need some Texas Gun Vault custom logoed grips for this thing. And maybe make them a smooth texture so my wife would enjoy shooting it a little bit more. But otherwise, no problems whatsoever, and she was very surprised with how low recoiling this firearm was. So, that's pretty awesome. But speaking of using this as a defensive pistol, I'm going to try what I call my defensive shooting. Essentially, if I had 2 magazines, I had to shoot this thing really fast, get the magazine out, reload a new magazine in there, get the gun back in action. Can I do it quickly? Well, this gun has a really good trigger, and so I know I can shoot it fast, but can I change the magazines out fast? I tend to think that I can. I'm pretty fast with 1911. So let's just see what happens if I had to use this in a self-defense scenario and change magazines as quickly as I could. Man, does this gun want to be shot fast. This trigger is absolutely outstanding. But I have to say, after shooting it like that, my wife's assessment is dead on. And that is, the gun just has too much muzzle flash to be used as a concealed carry weapon because you really can't aim. I was just doing some point shooting there, and I'm pretty happy that all of my rounds were on target. They were all on the silhouette, so that's pretty good. I would say that this gun is more of a range toy. It is a lot of fun to shoot, but I don't know if I would use it as a self-defense weapon or a concealed carry weapon. But maybe you would. Maybe you find the cartridge to be fantastic and don't mind that muzzle flash. I think the other problem with it is very, very loud. So pretty much after a self-defense scenario, I really want to come away with my hearing intact. And this is really going to hurt you a lot, in my opinion, but who knows, maybe you don't care about that. So what are my final thoughts on this range report revisit on this really interesting 1911 from Armscor? Well, I gotta say, now that I have the proper ammunition, I'm really happy with it. This thing really, really impressed me. I don't know if I would buy one just because of the ammo availability, but the fit, finish, and quality of this firearm is top-notch. It's better than I would expect from Rock Island Armory. The trigger is fantastic. You get a ton of upgrades. It seems to be well built. For the most part, for me, it's pretty darn accurate. The only thing I would like to see them come out with, and who knows, maybe they already have, but that would be a 2011 version of this gun, essentially a double stack version. Only having 8 rounds, if you're using the extended magazine, or 9 rounds, I don't really think is enough, but a 2011 version of this with a much higher capacity magazine would be really interesting. I know they already make 2011 versions of the 1911, so I think they could probably adapt it, and who knows, maybe they already have that out. But I don't follow Armscor probably as much as I should. But this thing shot well. I had no issues whatsoever. It fed great. Another thing that's really interesting about the TCM9R is that all of the rounds that I had anyway were already hollow point. They were already jacketed hollow point. So if you are going to carry this, well, you don't have to worry about buying specialty defense ammo. So on my star system, how would I rate this particular 1911 from Armscor, chambered in TCM9R? Well, I'm going to give it 4.75 stars out of 5. It really impressed me. And that's what makes these range reports get high marks, if it exceeds my expectation. And this gun absolutely did. The only points I'm going to deduct on this thing will be for accuracy. For me, as I said, I didn't shoot as well as I would like and as well as I shoot other firearms, and the ammunition availability. But the ammo itself seems to function great. But man, in an ammo crunch, or if Armscor ever goes out of business, I think you'd be hard-pressed to feed this thing. And then it just becomes a big old paperweight. So that's why I would just deduct a few points. But if that doesn't concern you, or you have stockpiled up on this ammo, I think it is an outstanding buy and something that is really, really cool. Plus, I guess you could always chamber it back in 9mm. It's a well-built 1911 that's not going to break the bank. It seems to be well constructed, well finished. It's a really nice offering from Armscor, or Rock Island Armory. It has all the upgrades that you would like from a basic 1911. It's aesthetically pleasing. It's just a great gun. So there you go, 4.75 stars out of 5 for the M1911 chambered in TCM9R from Armscor. So let me know in the comments section, have you guys ever shot one of these? Have you ever shot a gun chambered in either 22 TCM or TCM9R? I would love to know your thoughts, and do your experiences echo mine? So let me know in the comments section below, and as always, thanks for watching.